Jim was definitely on that list from the very beginning, and he was the first person I contacted, the first person I interviewed, and the person that we hired. We had a really good pool of candidates, and I'm not surprised because I think the level of our program has really escalated. It's always been a great place to be, but you know, he emerged, and I think the fact that he was a head coach was a very important factor, that he's had 10 years of coaching experience, and we obviously hired an excellent assistant coach at Ohio State named John Gross. But as our program is building in that level, you somehow reduce the potential of risk when you are hiring somebody that's been there and done it. An assistant coach has to take the time to learn how to be an assistant coach, to develop staff and players, and it's a different role. And so he's already proven that, and I think his affinity and renowned success in the MAC with the program that's kind of at our level, that's too good to be true. You know, I actually had Jim on a list of mine when I was at Wichita State when I hired Greg Marshall, and had conversation with him. And he's, you know, I've always had him on my radar screen. His reputation throughout the coaching community is just the highest, first class. And so you know, we're just elated. I just couldn't be happier.
How many people were in that pool? How many people did you actually take a look at?
Well,
Jim is your first guy, and obviously the best choice. But
well,
how big was the pool to
I went into the whole process with a very open mind. I did not start this process with Jim Christian as our next coach, by no means. I went in. I think every candidate that we had, I had no set agenda. You know, whether there's somebody who was involved in our staff or somebody who was brand new. And so I started generating names and ideas, and eventually I kind of worked that way down to a smaller list, a small number of people that I spoke with and interviewed over 3 days in New Orleans. And then, you know, sometimes if you go into it and something doesn't emerge where it seems just evident to you that this is the right person, then you take more time or you see more people. But lots of times it pairs itself down, and I can remember when I hired a Mark Turgeon or a John Gross, I didn't take 3 or 4 weeks because I ran and found the person. And in this business, when you're in a coaching search during the coaching change period of the year, if you have the right coach, you need to move forward fairly quickly because that coach, unbeknownst to you, may be talking to somebody else. And if you take too much time, they may be gone. So I think time is very, very important. So we pared it down to that, and there was just a lot of great candidates, but clearly his experience, and I was familiar with him, and what he's done in the MAC were the main reasons.
Jim, just your speech and your body language, it seems like you feel that you've got a slam dunk here, that you hit the lottery here.
I do. I mean, you know, there's never a guarantee when you hire a coach that 100% chance that they're going to be everything that you want. But we're talking about somebody that's already done it. He's actually been in our league. He's won for 6 straight years. He's the winningest coach in the history of the school. They're restarting the Hall of Fame in the Mid-American Conference, and I can guarantee you that Jim Christian's going to be one of the people inducted into the Hall of Fame pretty darn soon. And so when you have somebody of that caliber, he was a standing coach in a school that was going to be competing in the Big 12. I talked to their AD. He was not happy that he was going to lose his coach. He had no intentions of him not being the coach in the future. And that his team really was starting to make a turn in a place where they may not had as much investment or history in the sport of basketball, and he was getting that done. And that's hard ground to plow. And so I just thought he was a great fit for us. And his head coaching experience, I think, over the long haul. And it's not a one-year deal. We're not interested in next year. We're interested in years and years and years to come, because if we want to build a program and be that next VCU or Butler, whatever we aspire to be and beyond, then we have to build it for the long haul. We have to build a coach that can recruit the next set of athletes, that can train the next set of athletes, and to build a program first class, just like John Gross did. Very, very appreciative of the tremendous job that he and his staff did, and wish John the very best. But I think Jim gave great accolades to him. Now we have to move up to the next level because we're not done. And if you take a look at those programs that I mentioned, if you look at the beginning of that ladder, that first couple steps, that's kind of where we are with that breakthrough year. Now as we have success, generate revenue, reinvest, keep moving up in that ladder, there's no telling what we can do. You know, did I think 4 years ago that we could be in a Sweet 16? Boy, that seemed like a big shot. But hopefully 4 years from now, we're going to look back, just like those other programs, over time, and commitment to that vision, we're going to continue to build and grow it, and I think we'll be surprised and excited about what we see.
What kind of buyout number is there with Jim and his contract at TCU?
there, some of the details of his contract and our contract, there's some of those things we're still finalizing, and I think we'll actually have some information, for you later. But that's not really an issue, for us, and those are part of the contractual issues. But I'm very excited about the arrangement that we have in Jim for a 5-year contract, and I think it's again, as Jim said, it's a great fit for him and a great fit for us.
You really expanded the salary too here. I mean, you really. It's not unlike baseball or football or basketball on the pro level. You really expanded your salary to get him.
I actually had discussions with John Gross several weeks before the MAC tournament, and it was our vision to try to build this program, and I had a similar conversation with Frank Solich, our football coach. These are our two marquee sports that have provided tremendous amount of national exposure and revenue for our program. And we had a vision, not just before the NCAA tournament, to try to invest into things like salaries, into facilities. We're finishing a men's basketball locker room. We're coming down the stretch of finishing an indoor facility. So that's our goal. If you want to be at the top of the league, then you need to spend and invest at the top of the league in things like salaries, operational budgets, and facilities. So that's part of our vision, and so when we actually made that decision, we certainly did everything we could to keep John, and we shared with John that future vision, which was more resources to try for it down the road, and so that wasn't just done for him. It was done long term for whoever that next person was going to be. And my goal is that that's not the end of the road. I hope that we can continue to find ways to invest strategically when available through our resources to be able to help build those programs. Because investment equals return. And if you have an expectation to be here, then you need to prepare to make that investment.
Jim, is this the kind of hire that's a wake-up call to the rest of the MAC in terms of what it's going to take to compete in this conference financially?
Yeah, I think that every time that somebody builds a new arena, somebody hires a coach and maybe there's a bump in that salary area, when people make greater investments in their operational budgets in terms of travel or anything else, I think that everybody pays attention to what other schools are investing. When I was in the Missouri Valley Conference, that league took a big jump, and I think had 4 or 5 schools in when we built basically a new arena. Creighton built a new arena. Northern Iowa built a new arena. People were investing into coaches' salaries. All these different things, these investment areas started going up, and everybody looked over their shoulder like, hey, what did they do? Hey, they go to the athletic director and president, hey, we want to compete, don't we? Yes. So we got to do these things, and they did. So I think that anytime I see a coach in our league get a salary increase, I'm like, great. When I see anybody in our league build a new building or a locker room, I go, that's fantastic. If they increase their operational budgets, that's great. Because we'll rise all those tides. The more people invest, I don't go, dang, they could get better than us. I mean, I want everybody to get good, spend money on scheduling, get home games, have a chance to invest in those areas to be successful. So I hope that anything we do or any other team is doing to invest into men's basketball, I hope that's great. I'm sure our commissioner feels the same way.
Jim, when you were at Wichita State, those teams did it without football. Can it be done at this level with football?
Yeah, and a lot of those, a number of those schools do have football.
Right,
I mean, it's one double A football, but at the level of their budget, it's still a pretty significant investment. Of course I do. We had 39 combined wins in football and men's basketball, and as far as I know, we're one of the top, if not the top, among all Division I schools in that. So we just did it. We just proved that we can win a bowl game, win 10 games, and do that.
But sustain it like Gonzaga or Butler or Wichita State or...
I think so, because you have to find ways in each of those pieces to invest for level of success. So I know they're not completely mutually exclusive because it comes out of one pot, but if your vision is for football and figure out what it's going to take to be successful, that's that vision. Men's basketball is a different vision. You have to identify what those goals are, and you have to be prepared. If your goal is to be good in both, which ours is, then you have to be prepared to make those investments. So I don't think there's any kind of cap to that. We just have to continue to do that. And one thing that you'll find is that as you have success, you generate more revenue. Then you take that revenue and you reinvest it back into the team. And then they don't drop on down, they continue to stay up and they may grow. And then all of a sudden it just continues, and before you know, you look over your shoulder and you realize, like, holy cow, I mean, we are investing more, we are winning more. And I would have never imagined we could be here, and I think we're starting to see that. And I know when I was at Wichita State, the 9 years I was there, we were in last place. We finished to get, we're at the top of the league. And that can happen because of our investment. If you keep true to that vision and just keep working towards it one step at a time and just keep moving ahead, don't let it drop back, then there's no reason it can't happen. You just got to start that way, and I definitely think so.
You mentioned you cut the search down to a small group. How many people were called and I guess interviewed, and was Dustin Ford one of those guys?
You know, I really don't think it's appropriate for me to get into a lot of details of the search process, because a number of people that get involved into an employment search, there needs to be an air of confidentiality. So in terms of identifying which people that are in the search or how did somebody do, I just really don't think that's necessarily appropriate for me to do at a press conference at this time. But I can tell you we had an excellent pool of candidates, and we are very open to candidates that were internal candidates and those that were outside.
Do you have a number you can share? How many people you called?
Do you mean there might be a difference
like a
between
general call, but like a more serious, almost interview or interview?
Yeah, you probably talk about half a dozen generally.
What's the player reaction that you know of at this point to the hire?
Yeah, you know, I think that as Dr. McDavis talked about and Jim talked about, it's really important to keep the team involved. So when this took place on Monday, when I'm sorry, I might have the wrong day, when John Gross talked to the team, I talked with him right after that, and so I think the team kind of anticipated what was happening. I guess that would have been Thursday. And then, and the team was fine. You know, I think they were really good, very mature. I said, hey, you know, these changes happen. I know it's kind of a, you know, maybe a little shocking a little bit. They read some of the reports, so it's probably not a complete shock at the moment. But I have great confidence we're going to hire a great coach. Just give it a chance, and our goal is to move forward as quickly as we can, and let's stay in touch. There's some guys in the team that I think are great leaders, like Walter Offit and DJ Cooper, and I made a special effort to stay in touch with those guys, and so we did, let them know how the search is going. I didn't get into specific names with them, but we talked about, I visited with a team, the kind of coach that they were interested in, you know, what types of characteristics, and they like our style of play, and they like coaches that really treat student athletes, you know, properly, and so that was important to me in the search process, is what they wanted. And so when this occurred, you know, we had, you know, I met with the team and talked with them about our decision, as well as President McDavis also came and joined, and we talked to the team about our hiring of Jim Christian. And then Jim mentioned today that he visited with the team today. So as you can tell, you know, the team is, you know, we're not anywhere without those student athletes. So it's very important. And I would say overall, I thought the action was great. I mean, I think they understand it's a transition, it's a business, these things happen. They wish Coach Gross all the best. But I think we will feel great about what's going to happen moving forward. And, you know, there's always a transition. You got to visit with each kid. You got to visit with recruits. And it always takes a little bit of time. Sometimes a recruit, when they had a relationship with the coach and they leave, they're not very sure. You know, other schools may try to call the athlete, and that's so common. So lots of times they just get a chance to talk to the coach, hear the other players feel good about it, and I think that's what's going to happen in Jim's case, and I think we'll move forward. And, you know, we're very, very excited where that's going to go.
Yeah,